Hi, this is Anna Imagination with Healing Garden, and welcome to Shifting Perspectives and Triadic Healing. We're going to talk about the perspective war because this is like the core of trauma. This is it right here. So when there are two perspectives at play here, there are always at least two perspectives at play here. Every time you interact with another human being, you are actually working with two different perspectives. And there is this common concept that there is the submissive perspective and the dominant perspective. Now, I'm going to be the first to very bluntly tell you BDSM is actually a very much part of the shadow self, and it's in every one of us. Bottom line. A lot of people are not going to like to hear this, but too bad. BDSM is actually an actualized part of all of our shadow self. Every single one of us has BDSM inside of us. If you have a shadow self, you have BDSM. To say you don't like the shadow self or you don't have one is to say, I don't have a subconscious mind. The BDSM is about authority, power, and control. It is absolutely your relationship to authority, power, and control. When you come into the world, you have two things, your identity and your authority. And this is really what it comes down to, is your relationship to your identity and your relationship to your authority. If you are abused, it is absolutely a power struggle between who gets your authority. If you are submissive or obedient, that's because you are falling into that side of the spectrum when it comes to authority. When you are deciding to heal and you step out of that mindset, the submissive mindset, you are actually claiming dominance and taking back your authority. This is so BDSM, I cannot begin to explain it to you. But we have such a narrow-minded, closed concept of what BDSM actually is that unless you're in the lifestyle, you actually don't know what it is. So it's taking a mistress of 28 years to step forward and say to you, BDSM has nothing to do with sex. It has everything to do with your relationship to authority, power, and control. And most of your life, you have probably been a submissive because narcissists are dominant. And it's your relationship to how you work and interact with other people in a submissive or a dominant role. Has nothing to do with sex. It has to do with where you belong in life. And that's the problem. There is no hierarchy. Hierarchy is something that abusers put in place to abuse you. The hierarchy doesn't exist. It is an abusive concept, like time. It doesn't exist. It is a concept to make sure that the people who are dominating can put you in place so you will obey. It is very much a slave master mindset. Do you know where else we practice slave master mindset? BDSM. So, when you decide to heal, what you are really doing is you are claiming dominance for your most likely conditioned submissive perspective. Be realistic about what you're doing here. Your parents most likely put you in a very submissive location with a hierarchy saying that you're a child, you have no rights. You are of this position, this is where you belong. Oh, you're a woman, you belong over here. And they categorized you and they compartmentalized you. And as a result, you ended up in a box that didn't suit you because they have their expectations of you. They established themselves as a dominating perspective over yours. Now, here's the problem. Perspectives are not submissive. They are not dominant. Perspectives are not submissive or dominant. A perspective is your sanity. A perspective is absolutely your sanity. So what's going on is they've taken your actual insanity and they have forced it through abuse into an absolute submissive role. When you heal, It is you standing up as a submissive saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. Now, the dominant perspective, the abuser, is going to fight back. It's going to push back. Now you've entered a war. This is the perspective war. And there's two players of this perspective war. There's three. There's you, and then there's them. Now, here's another problem. They have taken your subconscious mind and pulled it onto this side of their fence. So it's not just you versus them. It's you versus your own subconscious mind and them. They have infiltrated your mind. So that's really what you're up against when you're fighting with somebody on perspective. When you step into this mindset of, I'm going to heal, traditional psychology puts us all in a position where we focus on our symptoms. Let me put this in perspective for you. A mental illness is equivalent to you vomiting when you have an infection. Mental illnesses are equivalent to you having a fever while you have an infection. A bad doctor will put all of their attention on the fever. A bad doctor will put all of the attention on you vomiting. They won't draw your blood. They won't look at the cause of the infection. They won't even bother diagnosing for the infection. They'll just address the vomiting and the fever. And because of that, you'll be vomiting with a high fever until you die, or indefinitely, or until the body figures itself out. Now, in the meantime, you've got an incompetent doctor focused entirely on the vomiting and the fever. And they are not doing any blood work. They're not looking at any of the reason why you have the vomiting and the fever. This is exactly what's going on with traditional therapy. You go in there and you've got symptoms. They're not looking at all at the cause. They're just focused completely on how to manage all of your symptoms. And that's all they focus on is symptom management. So we're going to step away from this for a minute. We're going to pull way back. We think when we're trauma healing that the problem is here with perspective abuse. Not perspective abuse, I'm sorry. We're here with the incident that abused us, the physical actions, the physical attempt of what happened to you, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, the words that were said to you. So there's a lot of attention that's being drawn right here. Just a minute. Excuse me. There's a lot of focus on what's going on right here. This is, again, the symptom. This is so irrelevant. So irrelevant. If you pull back further to this point, that's when you start to see, oh, this is perspective abuse. What happened was somebody took your perspective away from you. But there's one more space. There's one more. Let's go even further. When you step over here, this is the biggest umbrella that you can possibly get with this. You are an individual with your own perspective. You have autonomy and you have authority. And those things combined make up your individuality, and they make up your perspective. Now, next to you is person A, and they have autonomy, and they have authority, and they are an individual, and they have a perspective. Now, when you look at these two individuals side by side, they are the same inequality, the same injustice, the same of importance. That's really the big word here we're going for. No one is more important than anybody else. But an abuser who has some serious problems with projecting their own insecurities onto other people and using other people as emotional prosthetics will use their perspective to bully other people. And to do this, they abuse somebody down into a submissive role so that these two perspectives of equality, of equal importance, will suddenly become a hierarchy. This is not only unnatural, it is extremely toxic. It is extremely, it's insanity. It is literally the course of all of this. You just have two perspectives, both of equal importance, and the abuser has made and forced the other one to take a lower stance of submission. And as a result, this person is now conditioned to think in the hierarchy setting. Oh, I now belong here. My value is zero. They are more important than me. This isn't about right or wrong. And this is the problem. This is where a lot of submissives get into the mindset of, I'm not important. I have no value. Their perspective is more important than mine. This is not about morals. This is not about right or wrong. This is about, I'm valueless. They are important. That's what's going on here. And you'll say, I'm bad. They're good. No, that's moral. This is not about morals. This is about hierarchy, not about morality. And that's it right there, is a lot. Everybody who's ever been abused is taking the concept of morality and they are confusing it with hierarchy. They're confusing it with importance, not morality, importance. So what ends up happening is the person who has deemed themselves more important than other people are now abusing the people who they feel are less than them so they stay safe. This is all projecting onto them so they can feel safe. And then they lie to you and they turn it into a morality issue. Now, on the outside, this is black and white. This is you've got two perspectives that are equal in importance and value. And the bully has absolutely forced the other into a hierarchical abstract and then devalued the importance of one of those perspectives. And in most cases, you are probably the submissive one because you are looking for help. The dominant ones are the narcissists. Yeah, that's that cut and dry. The dominant ones are the narcissists, the bullies, the ones doing all the bullying, which is why they're not here. There's no incentive for them to change. Why would you change if you're top dog? Think about it. They're not here for a reason. That being said, all these other people who are just as important as everybody else is walking away from this kind of treatment going, I don't know what's wrong with me. Nothing's wrong with you. The problem is there is an imposed hierarchy that is in disguise as morality. And that's the problem. I'm going to say that again. It is an imposed hierarchy in disguise as morality. So you think you're dealing with something that's moral, and you're not. There is no morality here. Because morality, let's get back to it. Morality is every perspective is equal and the same. But that's not the treatment you're getting. They've lied to you. So there's this perspective war happening. And you have basically been forced to take your high importance, equal perspective and slammed it down to garbage so they can lord it over you in their hierarchical abstract. That's what's going on. That's a problem. So now you go into healing. You go into triadic healing. You seek out a therapist. So now what's happening to you? What's going on is you are deciding to take your perspective and bring it up to the same level equal to your slave master. And that's what's going on, is you are looking to basically reestablish yourself in a dominant setting equal to an abuser. And this is where you start getting into a power trip, a power struggle. Not a power trip, a power struggle. This is where you are claiming your own authority over your own perspective. But the dominance has said you're not allowed to have your authority over your perspective because they have claimed ownership to your perspective. And that's really it. They have claimed ownership to your perspective. You are their toy. You are their toy. And the toy, you, has become sentient, has become aware. So now you're standing up against the toy maker saying, no, I have autonomy. I have authority. I do not get owned by people. I am an individual. I am a person. I stand above that. I am equal to you. And they're lording it over, playing God, saying, no, you don't get that. You're going to be submissive. They're not going to let you go. They're not going to let you go. That's when you find out you're a slave. Try and leave. You'll find out how really not free you are, because they don't let you go until they're done with you. And that's really the truth of it. That is the defining factor that makes you realize you are a slave, because slaves are not free to go. Try and leave. See what happens. They won't let you go because they own you. So now it becomes a rescue mission. These are not going to be people who are going to comply with just handing you the authority that they took from you and send you on your way. Great, thank you. I love you. I hope I see you again. That's not how they function. They've been doing it either their entire lives with you or the entire relationship with you. They won't let you go. Horror stories of abuse exist because a slave wanted to escape its master. It's fucking horrific. So now you have people who are looking to rise out of submission and take autonomy and authority for themselves. And you have the dominant bully screaming, no, this is mine. You can't take my toy away. It's giving me something. It's giving me security. It's making me feel in control because I can project my insecurities onto you. But in order for me to do that, I need you to stay put in place so I can use you. Because the only thing a narcissist needs is people to use. And when you decide you're not going to use me anymore, now you're in a power struggle. Now you're trying to escape. Now you're pulling away from it. But you can't pull away from it because they have a hold on you. You must be realistic that this is a slave-master relationship. That's really what you are dealing with here. And I will say it again. Try and leave. A free man can walk away without a problem. Let's see how easily you can walk away. And if you can't walk away, it's because you are owned. We live in a slave society that hides this nasty, dirty little secret. And it's not until you heal and you try to break away that all of this comes forward. But it is such a horrible, ugly reality and truth that not even the psychologists are honest with you about it. And it's the biggest mind fuck, is realizing the big picture of what we are really dealing with here. Stockholm syndrome is the mental condition of slave. It's slave mind. And almost everyone has it. Stockholm syndrome is almost never talked about. It looks like something on the outside, and then it looks like something completely different on the inside. I talk a lot about Stockholm syndrome, but this is not a pleasant topic. This is such an ugly topic that no one talks about it. Everyone's working on covering it up. And when you really start to dig into true psychology and you really start to see all the players, when you start to see perspective psychology and you see the dominance, you see the bully versus the slave, the narcissist versus the empath, call them by their real names, slave and master. Because if you think for 1 minute that you're free, try and walk away. Just try. I tried to walk away from every one of my slave owners. Every one of them, all 4 of them. I tried to escape each and every one of them. I tried to break up with them. I tried to walk away from them. I tried to abandon them. The first one, it took over 3 years. And God, it was every 3 to 6 months. I was trying to escape that one. It finally took a letter that I left, abandoned in the middle of the night. True story. I left in the middle of the night. And then I had to do a full no contact. It was, and then a year later, he contacted me again to try and be friends with me. The second one was 5 years of me attempting to dump him, 5 years of me dumping him, And then him arguing with me, telling me that I did not logically have enough evidence to dump him. That's true. Enough evidence to dump him. I had to out logicize him, out argue why I wanted to leave. I was not free to leave. 5 years and I had to out argue him. That's the reality of it. The husbands were worse. The third owner that I had, it took 8 years. And the last one, it took 12 years to leave. This is the extent of slave ownership. And when you are in an abusive situation, you think it's my parents abused me. You think, oh, my partner's a bad person. If you are in a narcissist situation, and you most likely are, because literally it is rampant now. It is insanely underdiagnosed because the people who have narcissism are not seeking out help. So there is a good chance it's just spreading. And as a result of that just spreading, and this is really a massive dose of truth we all need. Narcissism does not seek out help. Narcissists are not diagnosed. They're not going to go to a therapist and have a therapist diagnose them. And then they get to walk away saying, well, guess what? I've been diagnosed with narcissism. That is so fucking rare. If a narcissist manages to get to a therapist and they are diagnosed, in almost every case, the narcissist lies to you about their diagnosis. I have seen it so many times where the therapist diagnosed them with narcissism, and they came back and lied and said, oh, I was tested and I didn't check out. Well, that's not how that works, but okay. They're lying. So the narcissists who do have diagnosis, in most cases, reject the diagnosis, quit therapy, and continue to go doing what they're doing. And then they don't tell people that they have narcissism. They lie. Because once people figure out they have narcissism, they lose their tool. They lose their leverage. They lose their credibility. It absolutely cuts the legs out from under them. So reality check, narcissism is not getting diagnosed. It is far more rampant than you realize. It is absolutely the most toxic mental illness out there, and it's going unrecognized. There's no actual numbers, and these are fucking dangerous people because they are abusers who use perspective warfare. Let's call this shit what it is. Perspective warfare is the authority, control, power cycle with submission and dominance, where they take your authority, they impose an abusive hierarchy into you in the disguise of morality, and they put you in a submissive stance to make you think that your perspective is valueless. And then they lie about the entire situation while they are treating you like a slave, because you are a slave. And now you've got Stockholm Syndrome, psychological entrapment. Stockholm Syndrome looks like this on the inside. What decision do I have to make today to keep me alive the longest? I want this, but this is going to upset someone. So what do I do to get what I want so I'll be happy and I'll be safe? Oh, I did that. I don't know why I did that. I shouldn't have done that. They're going to be so mad. How do I hide it from them? Stockholm Syndrome is not being in love with your abuser. It is an absolute, how the fuck do I survive this and stay alive? So it's filled with you sneaking, you hiding, you shifting things around because you are that fucking terrified of the person you love. And you don't love them. You just are convinced because they've convinced you that no one would ever want you because they're tolerating you, because they've put you in a hierarchy position when they put you at the very bottom, equivalent to a dog. You're lucky the narcissist wants you. No one else wants you, and they've isolated you. So you're completely alone. This is slavery. And it is an absolute fear-based existence. It is perspective warfare. They have enslaved you, lied to you, disguised it. And now it's just you versus their perspective. The problem is their perspective, their bullshit is inside your head. They have hijacked your subconscious mind against you. Be realistic about what you're really dealing with here, because that is really what you're up against. And psychologists just want to talk about your symptoms. Big picture. Big picture. Stop thinking about your symptoms. Fucking irrelevant. Why are you trying to figure out your own behavior? It's not relevant. You're not the problem. Big picture. But you got to span out. You've got to span all the way out to see the actual big picture. I have a playlist called The Narcissist Pandemic. Take a look at it. It's under Shifting Perspectives on Point. Go into that playlist and it breaks it all down for you, what it is we're really dealing with. Because until we start talking about this slave system that we're actually encased in, it's not going to get resolved until you become aware of it. Now, here's a big thing. I have a lot of people asking me, this is actually a really, really huge topic with me. A lot of people ask me why I'm not pursuing narcissists. I have people who've raped me and I don't press charges. I have people who, there's the abusers, and I don't address abusers. I don't try and help abusers. And a lot of people ask me why. Because the best way to defeat an abuser is to take away their victims. So by educating all of their victims, there's no one left for them to abuse. That's why I created the Healing Garden. I'm not going directly for the narcissist. I'm targeting on purpose their victims to educate their victims. That way they run out of victims. Because if you become educated enough on this bullshit that they're doing, and everyone becomes educated and aware, everyone's going to catch on. It's already started. With so many people starting to understand what narcissism is and the red flag, you're having a lot of narcissists and bullies going, oh, it's getting harder for them to work because everyone's starting to catch on to their bullshit. So I don't focus on taking down the narcissist. I focus on rising up the victim, taking the victim and nourishing the victim to get them up to a higher status so that they recognize perspective warfare so they can avoid being a victim. And eventually, word of mouth, people will talk. People already are talking. And it's getting to a point where there are fewer and fewer people available for narcissists. Narcissism will become an outdated thing that almost no one can practice because people have become aware of it. While that's happening, we're also watching a massive increase on education. We're watching a massive shift occur with people understanding psychology. Practical psychology is becoming a thing. That's what this is, practical psychology. It should not have ever... A little trick of the Christian church. When they created the Bible, they put it in Latin. The reason why is because they did not want the people to read it. It was Martin Luther in the 1500s, Age of Enlightenment, who said, you know what we should do? We should translate the Bible and put it in English so the common man could read the Bible. Oh, the church did not like that. Not at all. And then with the printing press, Age of Enlightenment again, I believe his name was Tyndale. His last name was Tyndale. And he was the person who published the Bible for the common man. And he was killed by the church because they made the Bible accessible to the people. And when that happened, there became a Christian sect that broke off called Lutheranism. It literally launched an entirely new segment that broke off from the Catholic Church because people went, well, they've been lying to us and this is bullshit. Look, I can read. And so they had access finally to English Bibles and publication so they could see all the bullshit the Catholic Church was giving them. Psychology is pretty much doing the same thing. It's made it so inaccessible to the people that the people can't use it. They need a priest to translate for them. but they're lying to you. So I created perspective psychology, a practical psychology that you can take and use day to day so you can take it and put it into your daily life so you actually can get out of your own way without having to go to the 10 years of schooling and college to figure this shit out. And the shit that they're teaching in college is garbage. So, yeah, practical psychology, perspective psychology is for the man. It's absolutely for the common man, the layman. That way, you know your shit. You have a user guide to your subconscious mind and you understand what you're actually dealing with. Recognize perspective warfare. There is no hierarchy. That is bully, abusive garbage that they use to hurt you, to control you, because they fight dirty. They are using perspective psychology against you. But no one's calling it that. So we keep having perspective psychology used against us. So I'm calling it that, perspective psychology. It's perspective warfare. And you have been put in this position where you've had this hierarchy imposed on you to tell you your perspective is valueless while theirs is important. Such a bully fucking move. No, it's not. Your perspective is as important as everybody else's. It's all just an opinion. There's no fact here. There's no truth. There's just opinions. They have an opinion, you have an opinion. Opinions are the same and equal. Really wrap your head around that. A perspective is an opinion, but it's also your truth and your reality, and they're fucking with it. Fight back. Become aware. If you love shit like this, like, subscribe, follow, comment below. Let me know what part of the show resonated with you. And share it if there is somebody you know who could use this. Donate to the garden, help the garden grow. And if you are interested in jumping into the DIY triadic healing that this is, go ahead and grab the link below under Linktree. There's getting started. You can have my integration workshop. I do one-on-one consultations. And I also offer the DIY triadic healing. Thank you so much. And may the kindest of words always find you.